It is said in Catskill folklore that there is a hiker that haunts the mountains during Halloween. This hiker, who has only flip-flops, one bottle of water, and his cell phone for light, lingers on the mountainsides. They call him the Lost One. He's forever trapped between the trees. When the night falls and the moon is hidden, he stalks the trails, seeking out the careless and unprepared. Those who forget their headlamps, those who leave their water behind, and those who think the mountains are theirs to command. Some claimed to have seen his eyes glowing dimly in the darkness, the shuffling scrapers of flip-flops on the stone. If you hear a faint, desperate whisper behind you, it is already too late. The last one is thirsty, and he's looking for somebody to take his place. So hikers, beware as you step in the shadow of the Catskills. Make sure you carry all that you need, or you might just become the next legend that haunts these trails. It's pretty good, right?
Well,
Yeah.
Is that how you're introducing Thomas? As the lost one?
No, Thomas isn't the lost one.
Okay.
I don't get lost.
Not at all. Not at all. So, what'd you think? It was pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tad's just like, no.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, Thomas, how are you going to keep the headphones on the dog? Have you figured that out?
She's sleeping behind me. I don't know.
Oh,
if
please
that's,
show me.
I don't know how to.
Oh, I can see.
Yeah, okay, you can see. Okay.
Oh,
So the excitement of Stasha's story wore her out.
right. It wasn't that
Just
bad.
about
I
back
did
to
that.
normal.
That was all myself. I did that all myself. So
I wouldn't be admitting to that, but I'm not you. So
that wasn't bad. Tad, if I asked you to come up with something, it would have, I don't know, you would have said something about baseball and
yeah, it would have been and lost in
hey, good. That's good enough.
That's me.
So, welcome to episode 145. Tonight, we have a listener spotlight. Tom Who's Outdoors, right?
Yep. Who's outdoors?
Love it. He's going to be on the show tonight, talk about his experience in the Catskills, Delaware, Water Gap, Hudson Valley. He's all over the place around here. So he's going to be here to talk about that tonight on episode 145. And it's a Halloween episode. So we're going to be talking about other stuff as well. Hopefully, Tom, you don't have any crazy stories that if you got lost and ran into the rivers and stuff like that, right?
No, getting lost. Only a couple spots where I almost possibly panicked, but
Oh,
nope.
hold those for later.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a Halloween episode. This is going to be coming out the day after Halloween.
Well,
So
but
what's up?
just so everyone knows, maybe that explains why Tom is wearing a Dodgers jersey in Yankees country.
Is it? Yeah. Is it a Halloween costume?
It is not. I've been a Dodgers fan even before like the 2020 shortened World Series. I got the
Wow. Legit.
tattoo on my arm, but Vin Scully was my baseball inspiration.
Well, we're going to hold that against you, Tom. The questioning is going to be awful tough tonight. So everybody stay tuned. This is Yankee Revenge. That's what the episode's
Perfect.
going to be known as. Yankee Revenge. Tom's going 0 for 9.
Luckily, not a lot of people care about baseball on this podcast.
Thanks, Dosh.
So spookiest places to hike in the Catskills. You guys got any recommendations? Any thoughts?
I was the only thing I can think of besides some of the things you listed were I don't know. Sometimes the plane crashes, like the jet on Van Wyck. It's not so much creepy, but it's definitely a somber experience with any of the plane crashes. But that jet, I just can't imagine a jet crashing into the side of a mountain. That's really dark.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine the last few seconds where the plane is, hitting the trees and the realization sets in that you've hit land. That's got to be horrible. I'm going to say the spookiest place, also neat, is the call between Older Bark and Little Rocky, and then going into Little Rocky is majestically first growth boulders, really weird tree formations, and moss that is as thick and spongy as it comes. It's the type of stuff when you step on it, your foot goes down like 4 to 6 inches. It's luxurious. So,
Talk
Nice.
about no man's land over there.
yeah, and when I hit it, it was in May a few years ago. It was one of those foggy, misty mornings, which really just, was like the sprinkles on top of all that. So
Yeah,
very
that's
enjoyable.
very remote. I can see why that can be a kind of spooky place. A lot of the calls have kind of that spooky feeling because you're in the dark place of in between two mountains, and the air is whipping like crazy, and you kind of feel like if you're the only one out there, you kind of feel alone. You're just like, damn, maybe I should start moving up the mountain. It's definitely there's a lot of spooky places. I mean, we could go with the biggest, of course, Overlook Hotel. That is definitely when you're at the right time, the right place. When there's fog rolling in, it could look like something's been here. Of course, I don't think anybody perished in that fire. They got out all okay. Well, actually, several fires that's happened there. There was like 3. So, but that's definitely could be a spooky place. Some of the places I've heard, there's a place called Murders Creek in Athens, which is in the northern Catskills. In 1813, Sally Hamilton was murdered, and her body was dumped in the waters of the creek of the Schoharie River. A poem about her death was written by Samuel Dunn and published on Broadside. Now, this is also a place where they found her body, and now they think that this is a place that has been condemned with spirits and spiritual stuff for over 200 years. And that is a place that I think that is a little condemned. There's a Dundas Castle in Roscoe. Roscoe is definitely one of to be honest, Roscoe is a great place, but it seems a little dark at times. Am I the only one that feels
I'm
like
not
that?
too familiar.
Yeah, I've seen photos of that. I've never been there. It has an interesting history. It's remarkable that it's still standing.
It is, and it's
Yeah, and wasn't it one of these places that was donated to the state, and the state just never did anything with it?
yeah, early 1880s. An architect built it on like a little 1,000 acres and stuff like that. She said they reminded her of her home and stuff like that. In 1903, they sold the property to another person. 4 years later, 1907, he sold it to another person, which was Ralph Wirtz Dundas. And Dundas was wealthy and prominent person. He wanted to expand into the Beaverkill area, but couldn't because, of course, the Beaverkill was a sacred place for fly fishing and stuff like that. Also saw the Beaverkill Lodge and said that he wanted to compete with them. Now, between 1910 and 1924, there was construction, but it never got completed. And unfortunately, his wife died in 1921 and left it alone. The castle was inherited by their daughter, Morel, who has also said it was worth around $40 million at the time in 1921. So that was pretty insane. In 1945, they sold the property for $47,000 to Prince Hall Grand Lodge of the Masonic Order, Manhattan-based organization of African-American Masons who wanted to create a Masonic home for the aged indigent. Unfortunately, it did not happen, and over time, Camp Eureka bought it, and now today it is saved by the state, and it is accessible. So,
yeah, so I'm thinking, Stosh, why don't we head out over there and do a live recording, right, of the show? Go out there, remote. We'll go remote.
What was that movie called? Where it was really weird. They had like looked like the GoPro.
Oh, the Blair Witch Project.
Yeah, we could do stuff like that. Do all that weird stuff.
I am so scared.
Yeah. I'm so scared right now. It's Bigfoot. It's the mountain lion. Like, must be. Also, I was looking up stuff. There's not much about Devil's Tombstone. You'd think that would be kind of like a spooky, scary place. but it basically says because it was called the Devil's Path because it was so crazy to hike that there is this one big rock there that was pushed there by glacial erratics that called the Devil's Tombstone because it's in between the two paths. It has nothing to do with like a spooky, scary background. I'm kind of disappointed.
Yeah, I also heard that's on the line of Manitou.
Is that?
Yeah, I read that in a couple different places. We can do a deep dive on that sometime. When we have nothing else to talk about, we can try to figure out the origin of that name and how it interrelates or integrates with the line of Manitou.
Yeah, I was surprised. Devil's Tombstone, you think would be a crazy story, but it's like, yeah, that was pushed here and it's there because a glacier pushed it there, and now it's just be called that because of the Devil's Path.
Yeah, well, if we come up with a crazy story and we repeat it every Halloween for the next 50 years, it'll become lore.
It will.
It will cement our reputation, our legacy.
With the 3 to 6 people that listen to us.
Yeah, we'll be rock stars.
Tom, what do you think? You're the one of the people that listen to us, I think.
I think you have more than 3 to 6. I've told at least a half a dozen people about the podcast, and maybe 2 or 3 of them picked it up.
Mm-hmm.
So between the people and I know and Tad knows, we got to have
9.
Yeah. Listen, I was going to say 9.
Yeah, let me count them. Good thing I have 10 fingers. Okay, yeah, 9. I come up with 9 people are listening. Yeah. And now we're down to 8 because you're not going to listen to this episode, Tom.
So it's talking about spooky. Have you ever heard? I know I touched base on this. Have you ever heard the Catskill Witch? The story of the Catskill Witch. You guys ever heard that?
Yeah,
I have not.
I've heard.
Oh,
yeah.
I know I touched upon this. I don't know when it was, but so I heard this kind of like a folktale from a while ago. My wife Jessica actually heard about this too, and it's told about a witch that lived amongst the Catskills, and it was pretty cool because I thought where it was kind of like appropriate. It was up on South Lake area, up on North Mountain. So I'll read it quickly, a little overview from, it's retold by S.E. Schlosser. I don't know, that sounds pretty weird. But they say the Catskill Mountains was once a home of a giant monster that fed on human beings until the Great Spirit turned it to stone on one evening as it traveled across the ocean to bathe. The bones of the monster became a new mountain, and rainwater filled the eye sockets, forming 2 lakes near the summit, North-South Lake. At the peak of this mountain lived the Catskill Witch, who managed to wet the weather for the whole Hudson Valley. It was she who let out day and night in, holding back the other who was at large so they would not conflict. She cut up the waning moons to use as stars as soon as she'd hung the new moon in the sky. She could sometimes be perching on the North Mountain, spinning clouds and flinging them to the winds. The Hudson Valley residents said that if they showed their Catskill Witch her relevance, she would then form thick black clouds that spun and held thunderstorms, and through them poured floods of rains and launched lightnings, causing disastrous flooding in the streams and blasting home of the mockers. When she was happy, the Catskill Witch would take form of a bear or a deer and lead hunters to a merry dance, vanishing as they draw nearer, assuming the terrible shake that they overtook her. Sometimes she would lead them to cliffs and would leap into the air, mocking "ho ho" as she stopped short on the brink of the abyss. Now, a garden rock was a spot where the Catskill Witch was often found, and is the foot of Luncey once lake that spread. The magical place was holden awed by locals, and no hunter would ever wittingly pursue this quarry there. The witch kept her magic in guards, and in this place she would use to summon the rain. Sometimes she would cut off a piece of gourd to bury it in the ground. Immediately cold water would bubble up and surface to form a new spring. Now one day a hunter lost his way and emerged from the forest from the edge of the lake of the garden rock. He looked about in fear and awe and saw several magic gourds stored in this armored tree. Tempted by the thought that he could control the rain with which gourd, the man kept to the tree and removed one. The small gourd was so heavy that he almost dropped to his knees, arms straining to carry weight. Cursing himself, the hunter staggered away from the tree, knowing he was leaving footprints behind, but unwilling to release his pride. Suddenly he stumbled over a small stone and fell on his face. The gourd rolled out of his arms, smashed open at the feet of the Catskill Witch, who had been observing the hunter from behind in a nearby bush. At once spring welled from the magic gourd. She washed away his soul, his life, and took him down the Catskill Creek, and he was thrown over the Catskill Falls area. And that's about it. That's pretty cool stuff. I thought that was a great.
So Tom
A
and I
good
are
story.
Tom and I are wondering what you're drinking tonight, Stosh.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. What's the alcohol content of that good stuff, buddy?
I can't make that stuff on my own. That's pretty good.
Well, you claim to make the first story up on your own now.
The
so-
first one was mine, but
Yeah.
I thought that was a really cool story, and
Yeah.
it kind of seems pretty neat. I kind of want to. I know it's all folklore and stuff, but I want to go find where this rock is.
Yeah.
Maybe
And I'll substantiate that story's out there. I've read it before.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's true or not. It probably is true. What do you think, Tom? You think that's a true story? Some witch of the Catskills taking away hunters' souls?
I think the no rain in October. I mean, someone must have pissed her off pretty bad.
Yeah, there you go. It's
Right?
the witch. The month of the upset witch.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
good point. That was what we should call it. Well done, Tom.
Yeah, she's obviously a Yankees fan.
Yeah, maybe.
Walk off home runs and stuff like that. So, yeah. Oh, grand slam. Sorry. So let's move on. If we're talking about the North South Lake area, let's get on to some like trail updates and news and stuff like that. Got a lot of trail updates and news from the DEC. So the DEC said that the South Lake Road within the North South Lake campground and day use area in the town of Hunter has been closed for dam maintenance. Now I'm guessing this is, I thought at once time it was the southern part. So where you get in the fork after you get in through the gate, you take the right that goes in the southern part. But it seems to be that all of the area is closed. It says South Lake Road and the South Lake Dam will be closed to public use for duration of the construction project, and parking will be limited to the parking area at the entrance to the facility. Now that seems like both forks are closed to the public, because I'm pretty sure in the winter you can get in there for free. And if there's no snow, you can park at like Mary's Glen and then over towards the Catskill Mountain House area. But it seems like you have 9 spots to park. And then you got to walk 3 miles to the Catskill Mountain House. Am I the only one that's thinking that?
Well, you're more familiar with that area than
True.
I am. And we all know what my experience in the parking area over there was
That's
like.
Scott Road, a whole different area, man.
Is it really? Yeah. Isn't it that same vicinity?
It is.
Okay. Yeah. So.
Yeah, because you can loop into Catskill Falls through there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it's a good time of year to do maintenance like that.
It is. Well, it's shut down. Well, it's shut down and there's no leaves on the trees, so nobody's going to come in there. So that's a good idea.
Mhm.
They said it will bring the dam into compliance with New York State dam safety regulations. And I'm kind of wondering if this was planned or this was kind of brought on forth by the flooding down in North Carolina that has recently happened from the reservoirs and stuff like that, that they had to like be like, oh shit, we better start, because that's scary stuff.
Well, the story I heard, there's a migration of mountain lions coming through from Massachusetts, and they had to close down that area because that's where the mountain lions are going through. And so they drummed up that story about a dam. That was told to me by the Catskill witch.
There's a bunch of them out there, just to let you know.
Yeah.
What? So I'm not. I gotta get like investigate more into that. So it seems like the South Fork is closed. I don't know about the north part that goes up to Mary's Glen and over to the Catskill Mountain House area. I mean, if they said it's going to be limited to the parking area to the entrance, that I seriously think there's like 5 or 6 spots that you can park there.
Mhm.
So very weird. So it opens May 16th in 2025. So also it's trail updates. Balsam Lake Mountain Wild Forest DEC operations crew is constructing a new bridge to replace the failing bridge on the Kelly Hollow Loop Trail in Balsam Lake Mountain Wild Forest. I am not familiar with this. Ted, have you been there recently?
I have not been there for 2 winters. I'm pretty sure I know the bridge they're speaking of. There's a fantastic photo of it on my Instagram feed. But yeah, I mean, there's a couple bridges out there. I remember the one was kind of sketch. But if you want a low physical intensity hike in terms of vertical gain, that's a great place to go out and hike. It is out in the Western Ghats. So for those of you who are in the Hudson Valley or downstate or in lonely New Jersey like Tom, it's a haul, but it is worth it.
Oh,
Even if
I
you-
see what they're talking about.
Yeah. Is it on the north side of that loop?
It looks to be, yeah.
Yeah.
That's not a bad loop, Kelly Hollow. I haven't been there. I got to go there. Okay, we got to complete that on the All Trails Challenge. That's my next spot.
Yeah. Tom, you ever do Huckleberry Loop?
No, there was talk of with some of the people that I hike with of doing it as a social hike. It's been on the list. I've heard of it, but it hasn't been done
It's
yet.
in that area. It's a
It's a nice area. Yeah, definitely. So, also more trail updates. I got a bunch here. So, in the Hunter Westkill Wilderness, trail crew from Tajas Trail has completed a trail improvement for the Devil's Path near Geiger Point. This project involved an installation of stone turnpiking and step stones that are closing off herd paths that had developed over time as the hikers attempted to avoid muddy sections off the trail. Now, that's pretty cool. I got to admit, Geiger Point has actually grown in. I think, cutting those trees down, even though it sounds horrible, would have been great because that's an absolute phenomenal viewpoint. Hopefully, as well, they put some stone paths in through the Hunter Trail going up from Spruceton that led through the top parts near where it got up in the balsams. Even though trucks could travel through there, it seemed like people were making it even wider than the trucks because of the mud. Hopefully, putting stones right in the middle of that would have solved that problem. I've taken several pictures over the years going through that, and it's just gotten wider and wider up towards the top.
Yeah. So that's what I would call now the horse trail.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. That needs some work. I don't know if it was as urgent as the Devil's Path section.
True. I mean, good point. Yeah. But I mean, a lot of people, what did you say? 27,000 people might have went up there for the for the fall foliage that we had before. So
yeah, I mean that's a very popular loop, and there's a lot of perks. I mean, you get great views. You have the fire tower. I'm sure the Westkill Brewery is something that makes that even more of an attraction because when you're done hiking, you can go over and grab a brew.
True. Good place. Also, Wyndham Blackhead Range. I know we've talked about this before. Trail crew from the Tall Australia has started construction on a minor reroute of the Blackhead Trail between Lockwood Gap and Blackhead Mountain. This is the Align Trail reroute will replace a particular steep section of the trail which has been prone to erosion and trail widening. The existing route will remain open until the route is completed. Now, I was planning on going there, but I decided not to because I just wanted to see what part they were doing. Mm-hmm. I have a feeling I know where they're doing. It's a little bit steeper up kind of towards that first viewpoint on Blackhead where it has a really cool rock that looks like it's been plastered several times by the waves of the old lake that used to be there. But I'm not quite sure because there's a bunch of sections going up from the Lockwood Gap that does need some help, and this is a good time to do it.
So Stosh, you know what? Tom, you know what Stosh was talking about, that section?
I do know that spot, and I think I don't know how long they plan out for that, but I think I can remember seeing the orange flags that they hang for when they make a new route or whatever. I don't know how long ago they would have done that, but I think Stash is right on the spot because that is a really steep.
Yeah, well,
spot.
Steep. I remember my first time going up there, and 2+ feet of snow, maybe 3 spots with drifting or 4, and it was I was going solo, and it was one of those days where every step you took forward and up, you slid back a step and a half, right? So
always.
It was almost like one of these, comedies where you're like almost trying to run uphill in the snow and you're just sliding downhill. But eventually I made it.
Yeah. I mean,
reroute or no reroute, it was going to be a tough day that day. So we'll see what they do.
Any part of Blackhead will be a tough day.
Yeah.
We're talking about erosion. We have some, of course, on that side that Tom was talking about. That it's just steep when the dirt is there, you're just kind of like kicking it and kicking it. So I mean, it's a good time to do it, to think about it, of course, because we're getting more traction up there. Actually,
Yeah,
less traction, more. I had more to say.
and I think one of the issues is, and I don't know how the reroute would actually address this or not, but I have the sense that when folks go up there in the winter and the traveled portion of the trail is now turned into that monorail of
Mm,
ice, people will walk to the left or right because they're not equipped to go on the ice.
Exactly.
And by walking to the left or the right, you're doing what? You're killing the vegetation. Then when the vegetation dies off, the root structure isn't there to hold the soil anymore. It just starts to wash and erode away. It's a vicious process.
it is.
So, yeah, glad they're doing something about it.
With us, all three of us being avid hikers in the Catskills, we see it a lot. And people just want to avoid those sections, want to avoid mud, and like with us, we do. That's what I enjoy. I enjoy getting muddy. I don't give a shit. And I just enjoy going through that and getting to that part of feeling where I was freaking wild.
Yeah. Well, you're saying a lot there, Stosh. You don't give a shit. You like getting muddy, and you feel wild. That really says a lot about your inner core, right?
That's good, right?
Well, we're going to call you the Savage now.
Yeah,
That's going to be your new name, Savage.
Savage AF.
Yeah.
Let's
coming to you tonight from the Savage Studios.
Oh,
Stosh
nice.
Resin. Okay, we've rebranded you. And I also want to note to all you fans, Tom has nicely dropped I guess it's his left shoulder, so I don't have to look at that big LA Dodgers logo on his sleeve, so I feel better now. It was a little triggering.
Triggered for
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll be back.
Triggered for nobody that listens to this. So also, Sundown Wild Forest DEC operations are constructing a newly expanded parking area. We talked about this last time. I don't know how far they've gotten. The project is located in the former trailer parking area. So if you go south of the Pika Moose parking lot for where you hike Pika Moose Mountain, it's been tough for the past years to get that, of course, without a reserve or registration. You'll see that it is expanded once again. Now it's going to accommodate approximately 55 cars. Now I know that good old Pika Moose area would accommodate probably 8, and then the former area would probably accommodate probably like 6. So it's kind of a big expansion.
It's a big lot. I was just back there
wow.
2 weeks ago.
But I understand that they actually eliminated some other parking lots for the campers as well as those other locations along the road. So they are consolidating parking areas. So net, I don't know how many parking spaces they're gaining, but 55.
Pad's broken up.
Yep.
Pat, it's the first time, Pat, you broke up a little bit.
Yeah, I was late paying my internet bill.
Oh.
Well, it's mental
fatigue
on my part. It's this Dodgers jersey. I mean,
it's a catch the wedge.
Take a break. Tom, you should take the jersey off. It's really
no.
Yeah, it's interfering with my stride. Okay.
But Tom, do you think being up there recently, do you think that's kind of a good improvement, or
how many permits do they on any given day do they issue? Anybody know?
55, one per car.
So it is 55. Then if they consolidate it, if everybody parks like a normal person, it'll probably work pretty good because it is a big space. But who knows? I still think they should keep those other spots, like the one by the Blue Hole, that's the main trailhead to go up Pika Moose from that side, and I don't know the other one that's further down, like if you're going up Van Wyck.
Yeah, that's that one that we also go to Bengal Hill and stuff. Yeah, that holds about 6 cars, So it's definitely once again, it's these times of where you're just like, what the hell do we do? Because that area is a tight area. And, we're just like, once again, like everybody, like Tom is just looking at the screen, and Tad is looking at the screen like, what the hell do we do? Because it's a popular area. Will it die down? will we like see relief in that area and we can hike it once again without caring? I mean, I've saying that I did Pika Moose Mountain on a weekend where I got a parking spot at 9 o'clock without getting any permit. So
Yeah, I think the issue is they should look into some level of shuttle service in the Catskills. Instead of adding all those parking spaces that can go to people that want to hang out at the Blue Hole, they should really limit the number of permits for the Blue Hole itself. I don't know if they're doing that already or not, but my sense is you can't have 55 cars full of people going to the Blue Hole on a Saturday or Sunday, right?
And the blue, it's so accessible too. It's like from the parking lot, it's like a 5 minute road walk and then a 5 minute trail walk, and you're
it's
right
not
there.
even that.
So it's people who don't want to go into the mountains but want to see like the beauty of nature and the Blue Hole, which is something that's like almost tropical. It's an easy access
Yeah,
for a
but
lot of
and the
people.
problem is the more people that go back there, the more foot traffic you have, the more trampling you have of the vegetation, and the less of that wilderness experience will exist for, future generations, future people that want to go there. It's going to become more and more, domesticated. And I said this before, I'll say it again. The DEC just ought to build some place or a couple of places along 28. I suggested previously they do it at Bel Air Beach, right? And they should put places along 28 and 23 and other areas along main thoroughfares that folks can hang out at a Blue Hole like feature, and maybe even put like a rope swing there, and some other things like that. And people can, go nuts. They can have like set up these cameras for selfies or, action shots and make money, a, a petting zoo with bears and bobcats and mountain lions, could be
Yeah.
really nice.
It sounds good. I think you should propose
Sounds
that.
great. I am. I'm going to start circulating a petition. Let me go now. Yeah.
I'm
Right on.
signing.
Soon as the Yankees win the World Series, I'll be on it, Tom.
Yeah, I gotta
Just
sign
saying.
up.
All right, you gotta show
So
up.
yeah, it was hurtful. So can we stay away from freaking baseball? Overpaid athletes. Watch hockey. Watch some freaking hockey.
Wow, what's going on here? Well, you got something pretty legit.
All right,
Mike Foley.
So have you seen the damage done to the Giant Ledge Trail Register?
I had.
This has been going on for a while. So I'm showing you guys a picture right now. What do you think? That's crazy, right?
Or are you suggesting it's vandalism?
No. I'm just suggesting that it hasn't. This has been for Tom. How long has it been? It's been at least a month or so. Maybe even more than that, right? Yeah,
a couple months, I think, because that was from
Al Purdy. That was recently this weekend. But
because I remember something. Was it a windstorm or something? But it was a while.
It's been like that for months, I would say. At least
So we're talking about the map kiosk at Giant Ledge
at one of the most popular hiking destinations in the Catskills.
So this is what you do, folks. Is this weekend you bring up your elderly parents, your elderly grandmother, whomever. You bring them over to the kiosk, you put them down under the kiosk, and then call the rangers and say that it fell on them.
Oh.
And then after the rangers take photos, fill out incident reports, and take grandma or granddad to the local hospital, you call our attorneys. Do we hike more and how? And they'll be on the case. Grandma or grandpa will recover millions of dollars from the state of New York.
Yeah,
because the kiosk fell on them.
So what I'm trying to get at after Tag goes on this tangent,
my promotion for our attorneys,
yeah,
better than the Catskill Witch.
Yeah, I mean that was pretty good. So like I went up recently. I went up to Bel Air and I saw that the amazing work that they've done up there. But then I see this that has been left for months. that could easily fixed within, God, not even 100 yards of a road. And, this is, I know you can still see some information, but I got to admit, coming to one of the most beautiful places and beautiful views in the Catskills, seeing this is kind of like, why would I want to come back to this place that it looks like absolute shit?
Yeah, I'll agree with you, but just remember that the Bel Air ski area,
It makes money. I know.
well, no, it's now run by the State Olympic Authority and not the DEC.
So explain that.
It's a whole different state agency that runs the ski area now. Up
S-
until X number of years ago, I don't know exactly when they transitioned from the DEC to the Olympic Authority, but historically it was run by the DEC or its predecessor. And for budgetary reasons and the efficiency of Whiteface and Gore Mountain are also run by the Olympic Authority, they wisely, if you're with the Olympic Authority, decided to transfer management of Bel Air to the Olympic Authority. So
hmm.
things arguably happen at a different pace over at the Olympic Authority than they do at DEC properties. I'm not saying the DEC is slower, but it's just, it's under different management now. But again, that kiosk, I don't know what it takes to redo it, but it's not something that you need a DEC crew to do. You can hire, like they use Trail Haas to do trail work. They can hire some outside contractor to come in a day. It would
Yeah.
seem. I mean, it's just 2 4x4s or 6x6s, and then the little canopy over it.
Yeah.
Somebody could make it in their shop and then bring it up on the back of their truck and erect it on site. You don't have to do a ton of work on site. And then Stosh, you know what they do when they're done rebuilding this kiosk? They go up the hill to the slide parking area, and what do they build there?
Freaking bridge.
The bridge.
Tom knows. Like it
with that $4 million settlement that your grandma.
Precisely,
right?
They'll name it after her, Grandma's Bridge.
It blows my mind that this is still sitting there like that. It's one of the probably, I would say, the second or third most popular spot in the Catskills that people are walking by it and like, what the hell is this? And I know, Tad, I know you don't go there often at all. But I kind of like, for a quick, easy hike to get good views, during on a weekday, I will go up there and fly up there and get good views and then hit Panther maybe. But like that, just like it kind of like, God damn, why? Like it's just, at least, Tom, I'm glad you were here to kind of confirm that it's been months. I was
It has.
I was like kind of like second guessing myself. I'm like, God, I remember seeing this a long time ago. But
And then folks will be driving up to the Catskills this weekend, listening to the podcast, all 7 of them, and they're going to go to this trailhead, and there's going to be a fully reconstructed and erect
right.
kiosk there. Because as we speak, they're probably doing it.
I hope they hear this. I hope so. I'll have to start it off with this instead of that folklore that I did. Darren White, who supports the show, gave me this piece of information that Seneca Meadows landfill is passing over its like resolution for the DEC to investigate. So Seneca Meadows is where basically, I would say, almost all of New York State sends their trash to, mostly downstate sends their trash to up towards the Finger Lakes, up towards the top of the Finger Lakes. Now, they said Seneca Meadows landfill is in the hands of the New York State DEC now. The Seneca County Board of Supervisors voted on Tuesday, October 22nd, saying that the DEC needs to investigate any harmful effects from continued landfill operations. Multiple speakers showed up at the meeting to support concern about how the landfill could impact health of both local neighbors and the environment, including a facility member from the Waterloo Middle School. They said the worst day is when it affected both the middle school at the Waterloo and the high school at Waterloo. We couldn't even open up the windows because when you open up the windows, recycled air traps inside the building. I couldn't even imagine that. The landfill's operators applied a permit to continue operations through 2040 to expand in size. Yeah, that's pretty messed up. I mean, what else? What the hell else are we gonna do? Get an incinerator down in Sullivan County?
Well, I think the more immediate solution and more cost effective is arguably when you go to the grocery store, avoid buying these non-compostable single-use containers and packages of things. I can say that I haven't completely eliminated single-use drinks in plastic containers, but a few weeks will go by before I buy one.
It's
Mainly
tough.
if I'm out and I'm going to buy something to drink, a single-use beverage container, I'm going to get something that comes in a can. I'm not going to buy one of those small sodas that comes in a plastic container. I'm going to buy something in a can because the percentage of those getting recycled is greater than the plastic products, according to what I've read.
Mhm. Yeah.
But the shame is unlike 20 some years ago, when Stosh was just a toddler, you go to the grocery store
Fucking
now.
20
Yeah.
years. I was 20 years old.
Oh, all right. Well, so but it just seems you go to the store these days and they thrive on single-use packaging, plastic packaging, stuff that, goes to a landfill and just stays there for decades, for an eternity.
God, it's depressing to talk about, but it's real. It's real. So reduce, reduce, and recycle. Triple R. I mean, it's tough. It's tough to do. My wife Jessica is starting to do that a lot. Get rid of single use plastic, stuff like that. It's a tough task. You got to get used to it, but you can do it.
Yeah, it takes a little discipline.
It does. It does. And I mean, if anybody's ever been to like a third world country, you can see that single use plastic is insane. I've been there, and it's disgusting. So whatever you can do, you can save our area, your area, whatever. Just do it. So thank you, Darren, for that little bit of update. We'll see where the incinerator down in Sullivan County goes from here upon this. I haven't heard anything yet. So we're gonna skip the grizzly bear 399. I mean, we're 45 minutes into this, so does that sound good? So who would rather, Thomas, what would you rather talk about, the grizzly bear or the North Face?
I thought the North Face was definitely interesting. That's the cutting the switchback,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So we'll go right.
I mean, the grizzly bear is definitely a shame too. I mean, she was like, I guess, a legend.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll go over that really quickly. So unfortunately, a little horrible incident. Grizzly bear 399 fatally struck in the Snake River Canyon over in Jackson, Wyoming. So on the evening of October 22nd, 2024, grizzly bear 399 was fatally struck on Highway 2689 in the Snake River Canyon, south of Jackson, Wyoming. The bear identity was confirmed through ear tags and microchip. Now, she has a yearling cub, and she has been a legend, of course, in the Jackson, Wyoming, the Grand Tetons area for years upon years upon years. 28 years old, oldest known reproducing female grizzly bear in the Greater Yellowstone ecosystem. Wildlife collisions happens all the time, unfortunate. The driver was okay. Unfortunately, 399 has died and was basically an iconic species of the Greater Yellowstone area, the Grand Tetons area, and one of the most photogenic kind of bears that they'd see. Everybody would see it, take pictures of it. It was huge. It had always had babies and stuff like that. It definitely will be missed. And one of these instances, and those fortunate incidents, the person wasn't speeding, wasn't doing any negligent process. Unfortunately, it was an occurring accident that was bound to happen, of course, with the growing popularity of the national parks and stuff like that. So, it sucks. 28 years old. Hopefully its legend will live on with its cubs and stuff like that. So, R.I.P.
So, Tom,
moment of silence. Nice.
You ever hit a deer with your car on your way to the cats, or?
I did, not in a long time, and don't jinx me, knock on wood. But yeah, years ago I did, and did like, I don't know, $1,800 worth of damage.
Wow. Yeah,
not fun.
It happens. I almost on Sunday going up to hike with Mike Kudish on my way out. I had to go into a 4-tire skid to avoid a deer crossing the road on 23A.
Yeah, those
I was able to pull it off in the early morning hours. Didn't hit her.
in that Jeep.
Yeah, I don't
Dude,
have ABS. I don't have ABS on the Jeep. So
listen, Tad, that was the most uncomfortable ride I've ever had. And that was only like 5 miles. I seriously felt like I was in a military like vehicle going through, I don't know, like the Grand Sahara and just sitting there like,
yeah, Tom is sitting there thinking exactly what I'm thinking. It's because you ride around in that poshy Tesla, okay, which is mangy,
it's
right?
got
Tom, am I right?
suspension.
Tom is nodding his head
Uh,
up and down because I'm totally on point. You just become soft, Stosh. When you hopped into, I mean, a real macho vehicle like a Jeep Wrangler.
Listen, I have driven vans like Toyota Siennas and stuff like that. They have way better suspension than
Yeah, well,
that van was. That Jeep was tough, man.
yeah, well,
I
it's
had
built
cramps in that.
it's built for it.
It is.
I
It
don't want
is.
to hear about all these personal problems. You didn't tell me. Are you going to sue me now because you got cramps in my Jeep? What the hell, man?
No,
I thought we were podcast buddies. What's going on here?
it was definitely a different experience. I will say that. And Mike was probably impressed. He's like, "Ooh, these guys have Jeeps. They know how to last through everything." So
Yeah, I offered Iron Mike a ride in my Jeep this weekend, and he passed. And now I know why. I've got a bad reputation.
So I mean, were you wearing North Face at the time though? If you had a North Face something on, he probably would have been like, yes.
Uh, no, not this weekend.
Nothing North Face.
No.
So after what I've heard, a North Face athlete could face a $5,000 fine after cutting a switchback for the fastest known time. So this is pretty crazy to hear. On October 23rd, 2024, was published by Gear Junkie, highlighting a consequence that most outdoor recreators never face while cutting switchbacks, also showing how severely officials responsible for protecting national wildlife approach this. Now, the story highlights how Michelino Sunseri cut a switchback while setting the fastest known time for the Grand Teton in September. Now, Grand Teton, I gotta admit, finishing the route in its Grand Teton's 14,000 feet, finishing the route in a record-setting 2 hours, 50 minutes, and 50 seconds. Unbelievable. I'm not familiar of the approach that he went, but if I'm familiar, I'm kind of familiar with the area because I'm looking into going into there. If he went from the, I think it's a Medicine Lake area, that is, I'm sorry to say, that's fucking impressive. 2 hours and 50 minutes, 50 seconds. 2 days later, the record was removed due to Sinceri cutting through a switchback along the trail. With a switchback known where the trail moves back and forth across, often used to reduce of the weight of what would otherwise be steep hiking. Now, in addition, losing his record to lose switchback cutting, he also may face a $5,000 fine and has a court date in November. I will post the gear report or the report. It's said that basically staying on trail is very important. Of course, the fastest known times, and people are very familiar with switchbacks, and they're commonly seen. It is the route. It's what you should take. Doesn't matter if you're doing the fastest known time. When you do a fastest known time, you need to stay on that route because it is the route you need to do, and that is the route you need to break. Now, it looks like this time, Tom, if you're going to be doing any fastest known time, you might as well not cut any areas because you're going to be set with a $5,000 fine.
Well, yeah, you should see my initial comment on this was what Lance Armstrong was forfeited when he was caught doping. But what just occurred to me, yeah, right. What just occurred to me was even, I think, more on point is a couple of years ago when that actor Pierce Brosnan was Brosnan was fined $500 and ordered to pay $1,000 to Yellowstone Forever after walking off the trail in Yellowstone National Park. I think Pierce is probably worth more money than Michelino. So I don't think Michelino should have to pay a $5,000 fine, unless really something egregious happened there.
So what did Lance Armstrong have to pay?
Well, so
Was that his testicle removal and he was aerodynamic?
oh gosh,
No.
Stosh. I mean, I got on one channel, folks, I've got the Dodgers fan, and then I've got Stosh talking about testicle removal on the other.
He was aerodynamic. He had one testicle. He's less.
Yeah. Maybe. No, he when he was sued on behalf of his U.S. postal sponsorship, he ended up settling that case for $6.65 million.
Jesus.
Yeah. But look, the guy at the time was worth tens of millions, and he did lose a lot of endorsement money. But I think for this Michelino, I think did have some level of sponsorship, certainly not as much as Lance Armstrong's. I don't know whether 5,000 is a little or too much in proportion, but I also would like to point out, if you're doing the fastest known time and you're cutting corners, shame on you.
Yeah.
Right. Whether he pays $1,000 or 10,000, if this guy knowingly cut corners to get into the record books, I think he should be banned
Yeah.
from further fastest known times.
Yeah,
Because we heard from Chris LeBlanc a few weeks ago. I mean, here's a guy that was out there for 9 days, and he wouldn't. What was it? He
almost slept in a
sleep
porta john.
Yeah, and he wouldn't sleep in other places because he felt it would be considered as aid. So he supported, so he wouldn't accept it. So I think his ethics are remarkable. And if somebody cuts a corner and still posts themselves as setting the fastest known time, shame on them.
So I'm gonna ask Stomp if I could use his shame thing, because that's a shame. That's definitely a shame.
What do you think, Tom? What do you think?
I mean, rules are rules. I mean, if it's a fastest known time, I mean, technically the fastest point is point A to point B is a straight line, but I mean, there are rules in place to follow. So
yeah.
I'm generally of that mind. Follow the rules. Do what you have to do.
Tom generally follows the rules, unless you said generally. What's the exception, Tom? I'm sorry. That's the inner Yankee fan. And
I was going to say, is the inner Yankee that gave up a grand slam?
I'll back off. I
don't know. Emergency situations where you got to cut private property or things of that nature.
Then you're not doing the fastest. No.
Yeah, you're bailing. So unbelievable incident. So thank you guys for shooting the shit. Really appreciate it, Tom, for withstanding that stuff of Yankee crap that we have to listen to.
It's fun to do it live.
Hey, yeah, right. We get talking about it.
Yeah, we'll ask you that at the end of the show.
Yeah, right. So thank you to the monthly supporters: Darren White, Vicky Ferreira, Mike Sawatowski, Jim C, Betsy A, Denise, Vanessa, Joseph, Jim C, and Michael. Love you guys. Thank you for supporting the show. Really appreciate it. Also, capture your love story against breathtaking backdrops with Outdoor Chronicles Photography. Molly specializes in adventure couple photography, and she'll immortalize your moments amidst the stunning landscape of the Catskills, Adirondacks, and White Mountains. She'll craft timeless images that reflect a unique bond in nature's grandeur. Embark on an unforgettable photographic journey with Outdoor Chronicles Photography. Don't hesitate to get a hold of Molly on all platforms. She updates every day, and she has amazing pictures, so check out. Also, discover the wilderness with Trailbound Project. Our expert-led hiking and backpacking education programs offer unparalleled outdoor experiences. Whether you're a beginner or seasoned adventurer, join us to learn essential skills, explore stunning trails, and connect with nature. Start with your journey today with the Trailbound Project and unlock the wonders of the great outdoors. They update daily as well on all social media websites and stuff. They have a lot of stuff going on. Check them out. Also, Coffees and mention the podcast on one of your hikes through social media, and we'll chat about it on the show. I don't know why Tom tagged us in his most recent thing, because he knew he was going to be on here. Tom, we were going to talk about recent hike. Come on, what are you thinking?
Yeah, it didn't dawn on me at the time when I tagged you, but yes, you're
going to talk about this. This is a recent hike, so we'll go over that. Daniel J. Scannell, second. He did the escarpment trail. We talked about him last week doing the escarpment trail. I saw him and my friend Hannaford. Daniel was in Hannaford. Dan, he did the escarpment trail south to north. Was a success. Catskill was 100% in postcard mode, except for zero water at Dutcher's Knots. We've been on a water hiatus for the past month or so, which why is we're in a burn ban of all New York State. Day 2 was including up the climb of Blackhead Mountain was a real test of our testicular fortitude. Very good wording, Dan. Really appreciate it. Any thoughts about his wording of testicular fortitude?
I just want to know how
Aerodynamic.
Yeah, he knew we were going to be talking about Lance, and
Jesus.
people have infiltrated our ranks.
Wow. So awesome job, Dan. Love the photos and such like that. Glad you and Josh, two Joshes had a good time. My friends Josh Gorsh and Josh had a great time. So also Scion 72, which is Sean. He was on a previous episode. I think it was episode 68 was winter hiking. Enzo and I enjoyed Sonia and Savannah up for Tremple Mountain and the Hunter Mountain. Sonia finished gridding the Catskill Fire Towers in her quest to grid the Adirondack Fire Towers as well. This means every fire tower once every month of the year. And that's definitely a lot of fire towers, I got to admit. So congratulations, Sean. And Enzo, who looks adorable as ever. Just want to get some smooches. Sean, send me some, any info on the dog to get some smooches. Tom, does your dog give smooches?
All the time.
Anybody who gives her I gotta come down. I miss that.
All over it.
All right, we got to get on a hike together. I know that sounds weird. Sounds very weird. So
no, I'm down for that. I mean, it's
Tad's just like, what the fuck is this?
No, what I've been doing here is I've been cutting out this Post-it note and I'm strategically placing it over Thomas's window here, so I don't have to look at any of the Dodgers stuff on his jersey. So I'm blocking.
I'm going to be cutting this out. I can edit this all out. I'm editing all this.
I just see his head now.
You have the power.
I'm gonna actually write Yankees on the Post-it note.
Thomas, I hope you rated the show on any platform. Always. So rate the show, any platform. I don't know if it does any good. Share the show, whatever. It does great wonders, whatever. I just hope everybody's having a good time. If you like the show, rate the show, share the show, whatever. Anybody drinking anything besides me? Tad?
No, Tom, you're not drinking any. No, I've got a beer here. It's a Lagunitas wheat IPA. I'm going to crack it now. You ready? Ready?
Go ahead. It doesn't come up.
No? Damn, must be that noise filter. Oh, well. So
Lagunitas what?
Wheat IPA. So hopefully maybe the sound of the beverage cracking open didn't come up, but hopefully the flavor will.
I will check it out. Tom, do you have anything?
Just some seltzer with some lime juice. And I'm not much of a drinker.
Okay, that's good. I'm having a Downey's, of course, Downey's hard cider. I think this is a blackberry. Once again, it's tough to see unfiltered, whatever. It's down east. It says the cool thing is I'm trying to read it. We know it's upside down. It's best to be drinking upside down. So you have it. It's really good. And then Ted has something with a dog on there, of course.
Yeah.
Nice. Looks like a pit bull. Beautiful pit bull.
I don't think it's a pit bull. But yeah, this is smooth. It's a wheat beverage. So it's got kind of like a wide body to it. The head's not as frothy as one would expect, more bubbly. But it'll work. I'll get through the end of the show. Hopefully, when we get off the air, the score will be 8-5 Yankees, bottom of the fifth.
We'll see.
All right, Tom, this is just going to be you and me from now on if he keeps talking about baseball.
just mute him.
All right. Yeah. Baseball is done.
Tough bully crowd here tonight, folks. But
I'm
legging it out for my fans. Damn it.
Wasted like 5 minutes of our show. Come on. All right. So previous hikes. Who wants to go first?
I'll take it.
Yeah.
We went up, myself and 3 other people. 2 of them needed North Dome and Cheryl from the cliffside from Spruceton. and it was on the list for a long time for me because we went up Shaft when I did my original climb of Cheryl and North Dome, but I said we were going back, and it worked out. Saturday, we went up there, we got it done, and it was a great hike. Cliffs going up are no fun, but coming down was definitely some awesome type 2 fun because like there's that thrill of like serious injury. So you got to be careful. You got to watch your step. You got to have a respect for the fear. But I mean, it was a lot of fun.
Great. And so was that the first time you went up from the Devil's Path up North Dome?
Yep, that's the first time I've gone that way. I had heard about like when I did research for it the first time around. I was like, nope, we're not doing that with the dog because I just didn't have enough experience. And so we went the other way. And then Saturday we actually went up the cliffs, and it wasn't terrible, but it was not that much fun going up. But it was good coming down. It wasn't all that wet. It was interesting with the dog. I mean, she will bound up almost anything. But coming down, I have to be a little more controlling of her and not give her too much leash because if she pulls, she will.
Mhm.
She will pull me down, or she will try to. But I have a pretty good trust with her, so she knows.
So
Excellent.
typical, like beagle kind of pull and go with the smell and stuff like that.
And the stubbornness of a basset.
Yeah, it's typical stuff. Have you ever thought about one of those like harnesses that goes around your waist for her so you can have kind of more control?
I thought about that, but there are certain times like where I'll talk about later, like where there have been times where like if she's going down and I know she could drop down safe, but I have a 10-foot leash. But if I know there's not enough leash where she's going down, I'll let go of the leash. But if she's on a harness around
Oh
my
yeah,
waist, I can't do that, and then that could be a precarious situation for sure.
definitely, definitely.
So before we move on, I have this image. Your dog has a collar on her.
No, she has a harness, and I'll
Hmm.
talk about the
Okay.
harness later too. But yeah, she has a harness that
Yeah.
doesn't pull around her neck. It's more like around her chest, and it supports under her stomach and
Yeah,
like
Yeah.
kind of like
Not
near
her
her back
neck.
legs. So
Yeah. Okay. Because I would be concerned, man, letting my dog go down a cliff like we have in the cats with the leash on and a collar
oh
on
yeah.
her neck, and then the leash gets hung up on something and your dog strangulates her.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was definitely one of the concerns, and why I got a harness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm glad.
So
I hope there's not stupid dog owners out there like that does that still. Like that's ridiculous. Harnesses are the way to go, definitely.
Absolutely.
So, Tom, I can remember you posted, you didn't go to the Magic School Bus. Did you? What happened?
We we got up there, and Bill, who he was one. He's getting close to finishing his 3,500. He needs the winners and like two others. But he's like, I heard about the bus. I really want to find it, and so I helped them look. The ladies that we had with us, they stayed on the herd path, and I helped them look for a while. And like it got to the point where it was going to start to almost drop back down, and I just didn't want to do that because we had to go back down Cheryl and then back up North Dome and then back
Yeah,
down. So like there was a point where, but he kept going and he ended up finding it,
cool.
good
and
for
took
him.
pictures for all of us. So yeah, but now I know like almost exactly where it is. So the next time I'm up there, I will definitely go check it out.
Cool place. I gotta admit, it's a really cool place, and it's worth it. Uh, so cool, man. North Dome and Cheryl. It's definitely you going from Shaft Road all the way over is definitely a haul. I gotta admit, it's definitely fun. I gotta admit, and how dominant is the herd paths now?
Some spots they were not too apparent, like from the Devil's Path to like where you start to climb, it wasn't very apparent. But I mean, it's easy. You're just walking towards the mountain, so you're just generally going in that direction, and you know it's going to be steep, so there really is no right way to go there. But then, like once you get up towards the top a little bit, the paths are pretty evident.
So why'd you do it as an out and back versus a through hike?
That's just because that's just how it ended up to be.
Mm.
It was supposed to just like originally it was just going to be me and Bill and Lori, and then we picked up another person because every time I post, I'm like, if anybody wants to go, just reach out and we'll make something happen. So the one girl who I've followed for a long time, and she's like, yeah, I've been letting the bushwhacks languish for years. So she came along and she asked if we were doing an out and back or a point to point. And it just was at that point, it was just decided that it was going to be an out and back.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's a great through hike going over through the Devil's Path down, of course, the areas. You said that was some good type 2 fight fun going over North Dome, right?
It was because just the route finding going down those cliffs, like there are certain times where you like get to a spot and it's like there is no way down in front of you. So you have to find the route. And sometimes it's just like a small gap in the rocks. I mean, you guys hike, so you've seen stuff like that, but it was
Yeah.
definitely fun. And then you got to make sure it's not too steep. And there's a spot for the dog where she can kind of like find her way down, and it was a lot of fun.
Nice. That's a great
Okay.
area.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that hike.
It's definitely one of those areas that once again type 2 type fun of where you like are just like, damn, this is it's real. Like this is awesome. Definitely a
Yeah.
different part of the Catskills. Tad, what about you? What did you do there recently?
Oh, so I'm on Mike Kudish's list now when he needs hiking buddies. So I went out with him and two other people on Sunday. It was a beautiful day. Mike was searching to explore the extent of the first growth forest on top of Bear Pen Mountain. So one of
On
my
top?
yeah, on top of Bear Pen Mountain. And yeah, when he first put this in his post, that this is what he was doing, I was saying to myself, well, gee, where on Bear Pen Mountain could there be first growth forest? And it turns out that the first growth forest on Bear Pen Mountain is to your left, to your right, and in front of you when you walk on that herd path that goes from the snowmobile trail on the east side to where it meets. Yeah. Stosh is like
I know where
making
you're
this.
talking.
Whoa. Yeah. I mean, we all know where it is because we've all walked
Yeah.
that herd path. And most people ho hum, think that's a boring hike. I've always thought that was an interesting area. And it was surprising to hear that Mike Kudish, who has been through that area obviously several times, but not necessarily looking for first growth when he went through there, it occurred to him back in September, then he was hiking through there with Mo when they were out searching for some deep peat, that this was actually an area of first growth. So we wanted to go back, which we did on Sunday, to pin out the boundaries, or he calls them the entry points of where the first growth area is. So what is first growth, Tom? Do you know?
Uh, Forest that hasn't been logged, as far as I'm aware.
We have a winner. Hand out the prize, Stosh. Yep, that's it. First growth forest is also known as virgin forest, and it's an area of the forest which has never been logged. So, and that's of course of interest to Kudish. So previously on the official map of first growth areas in the Catskills, it was believed that there was 27 acres of first growth forest on Bear Pen. And so in his email to the group today, Mike Kudish, who then, after we pinned out the area, he goes home and he calculates the extent of the first growth. And so he wrote us today to say that we now have 6 points, giving us a much more accurate picture of the extent of the original forest. I now have 117 acres as opposed to his earlier calculation of 27
Wow.
acres. Yeah.
That's awesome.
He said
4
there's little,
times.
yeah, he says there's little to no old growth in the area, which is after the logging, decades or centuries ago. So he says the wood up there is all scrubby. partly explaining why they were left intact and never logged out. And then he writes in his post to us today that what's unusual about this area is that a logging road goes through the first growth area, and it seems that nothing was taken out of there except trees to build the road. There are a few other places in the Catskills, Kudish writes, where this has happened, but not in the 19th century.
Wow.
So Stosh, why is it, and you know the answer, why is it there is a logging, well, Kudish calls it a logging road that goes through this area of first growth?
Of course, they were just looking for the ski area. They were looking for the downhill elevation loss to
Well,
go.
it was the access road. They had to get
it
the
was.
materials up there. They also
It was a call of Blair and Fly, so they were the easiest access.
Yeah. So I sent Mike today the literature, the history that's available on the internet, because I talked to him about that when we were out in the field, and so I sent him the backup on that so he can consider whether or not that this is actually a logging road or part of the road network that was used in connection with the Princeton Ski Bowl, which, to those of you who don't know, Bearpen Mountain once had a ski area on its northern slope. And then further to the west, there was another ski area. Tom, you know what the name of that other ski area was?
I don't.
It was called the No Name Ski Area.
Yeah.
Because it had no name. All right. Yes. So, and then I'll just add in that what was the hardest part of my 4-mile, 7 or 8 hour excursion with Mike Kudish? Anyone know what the hardest part of it was? And it wasn't almost hitting a deer on 23A on my way over. It wasn't waiting for coffee at Mabe's place on the way over. What was the hardest part?
Not taking a crap in the forest?
No, that wasn't the hardest part, Stosh. Tom, you want to take a stab at it?
I don't know, the whole hum trip back out.
No, so the hardest part was I knew it was going to be cold that day
and
windy. And so no offense to Mike, but when you're hiking with Mike, you're going slow.
Super slow.
Yeah, in part because he's 81. And the other part is because he has like this capacity to analyze everything in his field of view, whether it's like a little piece of moss, a fern, a tree stump, which to most of us we walk by, he's fascinated by tree stumps because they reflect how long ago the logging activity occurred, or if that tree stump is the product of logging or something else. So he's very slow going through the mountains, and because I knew how cold it was going to be and windy on Sunday, I really had to factor in that because I would be going so slow, I wouldn't be generating a lot of like body heat from, hustling through the woods. So I had to dress like it was like 5 degrees out in anticipation of that pace. So it worked for me, but it was a lot of fun hanging out on Sunday with Dr. Kudish and helping him at the age of 81 map out.
That's amazing.
First growth. Yeah. I mean, and when I was up there and we were doing what we were doing, and it's amazing to see this guy at this age go through the forest. And I'm saying to myself, I can probably name a bunch of people I know who are, in their 30s and their 40s and their 50s that could not do what this guy's doing at age 80.
Oh, yeah. Right.
So hats off to Mike Kudish.
He's living the dream.
Yeah. Yeah. So while you were over on Bearpen, I was waving hi to you up on Bel Air Mountain. I went up Cathedral Glen.
Beautiful trail.
Beautiful trail till you hit the ski slopes area.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Cathedral Glen was very fascinating. Once again, it has that cathedral feeling with the pines and stuff like that, where you're going up through amazing tall forest. And then we hit the ski slopes trail of Bel Air, and it shows us the trail markers go off to the right. And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm pretty sure on the New York, New Jersey Trail Conference, it goes to the left and it goes up the ski slopes. And I, second guess myself. I'm looking at the maps. I'm looking at the thing. I'm like, hell is this? Like, why is it marked over to the right? And this, like, I'm second guessing myself because I'm like, did I get the newest trail conference maps? I did. I actually did on my phone. It's 2023. So I'm like, okay. So I'm like, John, let's go over and follow. My friend John came with me. Let's follow the trail or the blue markers. We'll go over the blue markers. It led to a switchback of another part of the I think it was is it the Cathedral Brook ski slope?
Correct. Yep.
Correct. Okay. So it's a Cathedral Brook. So why not just go straight up the freaking the old ski slope? But it offers over there. So I was just like, this is part of the All Trails Challenge. Gotta freaking do this. But it's not part of the All Trails Challenge. So screw this. I'm bushwhacking through part of this, cutting off this. I don't even know. It's probably like 0.2 miles. And we bushwhacked up through there. We started on the ski slope going up the Cathedral Brook area, and it had all these awesome new snowmaking machines that are the size of my arm, which I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, they used to have turbines the size of 747s making snow, and now they're the size of my arm on these ski slopes. And it was nice. We hit kind of that area where you have to go off of the ski. You got to go up, started going up the awesome area where in the winter and the summer it has ferns the size of like giants overtowering you. You don't know where to go. But of course, this time it was matted down. We went up there. It gets steep as heck. It's awesome. It's perfect ski slope area. Bumps all over the place, dirt, stuff like that. With snow, it's probably absolutely phenomenal. But with this, we were like slipping and falling. Went up through there. You get up off of the on the ski slopes, and then you have a turn to your left that turns into a 0.2 mile going to the red trail of the Bel Air Ridge. Now, Ted, I'm pretty sure you recently were here. Can I say, what the fuck is that? Like it's like they threw a bunch of blue markers on the trail and said, like, good luck, have fun.
When you're heading east,
When you're heading
right,
east, yep.
along the ridge. Yeah.
Well,
So,
you're going to the ridge. You're meeting up from the blue trail to the ridge, which is the red trail going up at the top of
okay.
Bel
So
Air.
you're coming up through the ski area, but not on the ski run. Yeah.
Yep.
I thought that area was somewhat interesting, but when I did it, I think it was in August when I did it. So I did it in the height of nettle season.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and so you know, aside from noticing the trees and the forestry around me, there was, a lot of nettles in there. But then once you get up to the ridge and you bang that left and go east towards the mountain known as Bel Air, just past that clearing on that mountain,
Hmm.
right? I understand there used to be a fire tower there.
Yep. We hit that, and then we went back over to the ski slope area where the lodge was.
Okay, so you turned around at the clearing? You didn't head down towards Lost Cove or further over towards Balsam
Nope.
itself? Okay. If you had, that's where that miles upon miles of first growth forest starts on that
Interesting.
ridge. Yeah. So, and I remember that day that I hiked through there, it really just absorbed me when I walked into that area because it was just so much more quieter and had this sense of stillness because of the ground was denser from all of the decay from the trees not being logged out of there, hauled out of there. They would just naturally, die, fall over, decay in place, which just builds up the terrain, makes it lumpier and denser than the areas that have been logged out. So
But that section though, from the ski slope to the ridge, was like it was seriously like I was just like they threw a bunch of markers on the trail or on trees, and it just was like have fun.
yeah, I think they just wanted to get people off the ski slope.
That's what I thought. Okay, and
Yeah.
that
Because
ski slope leads right up to the. Why didn't they just leave it going right up to the what's it called, the lean-to?
yeah, I just found,
Right.
I
Okay,
think
I'm
they
not
think
the only
maybe,
one.
yeah, maybe they thought that people that come up here want to hike on a trail and not a ski run. Because it's not, when you say it's a ski slope, I mean, it's, got to give the impression in people's minds that this is not a narrow, like bulldozer wide ski slope that, you're on Cathedral Brook, the ski run, it's several bulldozer wide.
Yeah,
it's wide.
it's like 3 or 4.
Yeah, it's massive. So there's no sense of really being within the forest when you go up it. You've got a lot of to your left, to your right.
Yeah. Tom, once you go up there, it's gonna be nice. That little ridge walk going up to Bel Air. You get those views when you're at the top of Bel Air and such like that. And then you see how much money they put into Bel Air and how much money they haven't put into the trail signs that we have here in the Catskills. So
Yeah, but everybody who skis Bel Air, has to buy that lift ticket, and we get to hike for free.
that's that. I
So
mean, that's the one thing I was saying with my buddy John. I'm like, we get to
yeah,
hike for free. They get to pay. I understand. I do understand, but how
if that
much does a trail sign cost?
I don't know, but if the trade-off is we get to hike for free and we have crappy trail signs, I don't know, which would you prefer? Would you rather have to pay $150 a season to hike in the Catskills, being mindful
No,
that I think at Hunter Mountain it's like $120 to $150 a day to ski there. So
Jesus.
would you
A
rather
day
pay?
though.
Yeah, so would you rather, well, because you're making snow and giving you a ride to the
True.
top, but so would you rather pay 150 bucks a season to hike in the Cats, or would you, and have really, really, really nice signs everywhere and trail markers, or do it for free and have crappy, beat up, falling apart, rustic signs?
No, honestly, I'd rather do it for free,
Yeah,
just because
And it's
it's
uh,
true.
free.
Yeah.
It's free. Just say it's
it's
because it's
free,
free.
and
Yeah,
and as long as you know how to navigate a little bit, I mean, you'll be all right.
yeah.
I had a great time though. I had a great time navigating and stuff like that and making like decisions. I was like, I don't want to do this. This is not part of the ultrasound. I did get part of that, the whole cathedral growing up there, and I
I,
was
I,
going to take the Pine
I'm,
West, the Pine Hill West
mhm,
branch down, but unfortunately, my friend John wasn't really up to it. So I was just like, I'll go back up there. I don't mind.
yeah. That's a nice area. I enjoyed that hike that
I
day.
I
It
can't
was a
wait to
little,
do it.
yeah, it got a little warm, but I definitely got into the zone. And then that clearing on that Bel Air Mountain, that bedrock cleared area at the top is pretty interesting.
Yeah, I
And you
got.
see
I
somebody's got a little campsite they set up over there to, I guess, what would be the south side of that as you hike through. There's all these stools. There's all these log stools that are sitting
Oh
around
yeah,
there,
yeah.
and then there's a
Yep.
fire pit, and yeah, they've got
Okay.
like their little hideout to the
Yep.
south as you go through.
Good call. So awesome previous hikes. Everybody's had some good previous hikes. Not nobody skipped
We're
out on this.
hikers. Yeah, Tom's not a slacker, right?
No.
No, every weekend I'm somewhere.
Sweet. Man, I'm jealous. So Catskill News, volunteer 3500 Club, Catskill Trail Crew, Catskill Mountains Club Visitor Center, Jolly Rovers Trail Crew, Bradley Mountain Fire Tower. Uh, Anybody is volunteering. You can just get out there and volunteer, whatever. It'll help it out. Catskill Trail Crew. We're gonna have Matt on soon in a couple weeks for his Sawyer. He got a Sawyer certificate, so we're gonna check that out. Also, if you need stickers, let me know. I got to give more stickers to the Camp Catskill area, so we got to get that going. What about the weather? So, what's the weather going to be like this weekend, guys? You checked that
Hot and
out?
humid. It's going to be hot and humid, thunderstorms, chance of tornado.
Yes. I mean, it sounds like that's what it's going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, so Friday is going to be a low of 36 at night, but a high of 50 during the day. So, a definite low of maybe 16 at night. So, if you're at night, bundle up. Going to be clear skies, a little bit of rain showers in the morning, nothing too crazy, nothing too insane. Saturday, it's going to be absolutely clear, a high of 41, a low of 21 with wind chill. So that's going to be nice. Perfect layers, layers, layers. Sunday looks like it's going to be cloudy with a little bit light rain in the PM, a high of 46, a low of 32. So it looks to be an absolute stunning weekend, kind of, without some clear skies. It doesn't matter. It looks good. It looks like cloud elevation. I want to note this because, of course, most of us, me, I want views. Cloud elevation, the lowest it's going to be is around 6,400. So we are good. So, damn good.
All right. So my question before we move on, Tom, micro spikes? this weekend
It
in the Cats?
it's funny because I had read that there was some snow in the Catskills, so just as kind of for shits and giggles, I threw the exo spikes in for North Dome and Cheryl. Didn't need them, but they lived in the bottom of my backpack.
My man. Threw him in there too as well. I did.
Yeah, you don't
Not-
know.
Not here. Didn't do
No,
it.
absolutely outrageous.
Yeah, I figured if you're with Mike Kudish, nothing's going to go wrong. This guy's been doing it 81 years. He's,
True.
He's Mr. Lucky in the woods.
True. So, yeah. I don't know. Throw
Maybe
them in,
this
throw them
weekend.
out. Yeah, you prepare for the winter. Just throw them in there. I don't care. Prepare for the winter. So, all right. So let's get on to the last set of sponsors and then we'll get on to Thomas's spotlight. All right. So discover Camp Catskill in Tannersville, your ultimate hiking store. Find top quality gear, apparel, and accessories for all your outdoor adventures. Our expert staff is here to help every hiker from beginner to seasoned pros. We also carry a variety of unique Catskill souvenirs and gifts. Visit us online at campcatskill.co or in the store to gear up for your next journey. Adventure starts at Camp Catskill. Also, discover the beauty of the Catskills, Adirondacks, and Hudson Valley with Scenic Route Guiding. Our expert guides ensure a safe, unforgettable hiking experience tailored to your skill level. From breathtaking vistas to hidden gem, or if you're peak bagging to just simple day hikes, we'll lead you to the best spots and back. Book your adventure today and explore nature wonders with Scenic Route Guiding. Check them out on all social media platforms. Also, if you mention the podcast, you can get 10% off. Use the amazing code Mountain Lion. Also, embark on a transformative journey with Another Summit. Another Summit is dedicated to serving veterans and first responders with free outdoor activities. Activities like walks in nature, paddling, hiking, and even backpacking. Join our supportive community to rejuvenate in nature's embrace. Experience camaraderie, adventure, and healing at no cost. Take your next step with Another Summit and ascend to new heights of resilience and joy. Apply today on anothersummit.org.
So, well, that wraps up the show, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Stosh had to check out early, go to the hockey game.
Tad took over and
Yeah. We're
wrapped it up
changing
in
the
3
name.
minutes.
It's now Tom and Tad's Catskill Tales.
That was the lamest tales I've ever heard.
Well,
All right.
we have 10 viewers or listeners, so we're ahead of you by one.
Yeah, true. Let's get on to the guest of the night.
Let's go.
So Tom Who's Outdoors on Instagram is joining us tonight, and he's going to talk about his times in the Catskills, times in the Delaware Water Gap area, New Jersey, stuff like that. He's been all over the place. Tom, you've been everywhere.
I have Delaware water. Yes, well, everywhere in the area, but Delaware Water Gap will forever be my favorite spot. But since I've started hiking the Catskills, they've been like I've fallen in love with them essentially, and they're just like they're great. I split my time between the two now.
That's awesome. So why don't you give a little brief summary about your background for us, briefly?
Non-hiking background or just
Go all out.
Whatever is good for public consumption.
Comfortable for you.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, I grew up in the area. I when I was a kid, I grew up in Pennsylvania, and then I moved to Jersey. My uncle was the one who like pretty much introduced me to hiking, like way when I was a young kid. And then intermittently we would hike with my grandmother and stuff, and then and it just kind of grew from there. But then I ended up really getting into hiking, I don't know, like 3 years ago when my last job, like the last 3 years of that job was just awful. So I started hiking to escape that job, and then eventually I left that job of 8 years for my job now, which gave me nights and weekends, more paid time off, holidays. So I once I got the dog, I knew I had to give her what she deserves. I had to do something other than work 6 days a week with no like set schedule. So it was just a time for a change. So then we went up to Sam's Point, saw the rolling Catskills, and I was like, yep, that's where I had to I had to get into those mountains, and that's kind of where it started.
I hear you. I hear you, buddy. I had the similar experience of going down through the Catskills, and I saw them going over from the Andes. So I saw them from the northern point, northeastern point, and I was just like, "That's the I gotta get there. I gotta get there."
Because like you don't get like if you're in the Del, like I said, I love the Delaware Water Gap. But like if you go up to like Tammany or Raymondskill or any of those areas where you can see views, you don't like get the rolling mountains that you can see like when you're looking at the Catskills, and that's what drew me, like the prominence of some of the mountains. And it was like mind blowing at the time. It still is now, but it was just I just knew that was going to be my next stop in like my hiking chapter.
So you started off at Sam's Point. How did you kind of?
I don't know. I feel like I just started researching like and kind of like branching out places where I could go, and Sam's Point at the time seemed like an easier walk with a quick view, and then I don't know, that ecosystem, that pine forest or whatever it is up top there that's really unique, and then the waterfall at the end. I can never say that waterfall. I can never pronounce it right, but it's the waterfall at the end of that, and then you go a little past it, and then you get to that viewpoint, and that's where I ended up seeing the Catskills really for the first time. And so Sam's Point is like is pretty. I'm pretty sure was the critical point.
Did you like go straight from Sam's Point to the Catskills, or did you start exploring around there?
It was pretty much Sam's Point, and then probably like 2 or 3 weeks later, I was at we were like I've read somewhere like Giant Ledge is a good like jumping off point, and so we did
Of
that,
course.
and that wasn't bad, and so we were like we're gonna go further, and so we went up to Panther, and I it's funny I can remember walking down from Giant Ledge and like into the call before you go up Panther and thinking, oh my god, this is crazy. And now
Yeah.
and now it's like fairly tame, but it's just I don't know, it's funny to get perspective like that and to look back on the experience you didn't have compared to the experience you gain and what you learn along the way. It's been a fun journey. It's been fun having the dog. Dog was a big part of it.
Now, yeah, I mean, a lot of people underestimate going to Giant Ledge. I gotta admit, it's like 1,200 feet of gain, and then you only have 600 feet to Panther. So
It is tough.
it's a
It's
beast.
a tough climb up. It definitely is, but I mean it's the first time I could remember huff and puffing, but it seems not so bad now.
Yeah.
So your primary hiking started off in the Delaware Water Gap area?
Yep, all over the Delaware Water Gap. And I mean, loosely, I've done a lot of the Appalachian Trail in New Jersey,
Mhm.
some which runs through the Water Gap, some that doesn't. I'm not
So
crazy about the Appalachian Trail though, like especially the Pennsylvania side. It's Rocksylvania for a reason, and it's just
right.
not. There's some beautiful spots on the Pennsylvania side of the Water Gap, but it's just like there's so many rocks.
So why don't you compare and contrast the Delaware Water Gap area and its appeal to hikers versus the Catskills? How's it different? How's it comparable to the Cats? What's the attraction down there other than location?
The obvious part of the Water Gap is the actual Water Gap. You got Mount Tammany and Mount Minzy, and both sides of Minzy's the Pennsylvania side, Tammany is the New Jersey side, and you can look down at the Delaware River and see it wind through the valley, and which is that you can in the Catskills you can see the Ashokan and you can see the other reservoirs and some bodies of water, and occasionally the Hudson, but you don't get like the winding of the Delaware, especially in the Water Gap or like the Walpack Bend, which is like an basically an S in the river and one of the few spots in the Delaware where the water runs south to north for a brief time. which is a little bit uncommon. But the Delaware River is the appeal there, and the views.
What are the rocks like, the surface that we're hiking on down there like compared to the Catskills?
Fairly, like if you go up Tammany, it's fairly similar. They're not as bouldery, if that's a word, as the
No, it's fine.
Catskills, but they're flat. And I mean, there are some steep spots where you got kind of have to scramble a little bit, but it's not most of it's not quite as hardcore as the Catskills. The elevation, like the highest point in New Jersey in the whole state is High Point, which is like 1,800 feet and change. So I mean that's like child's play compared to like Slide at 4,200, or like some of the other ones that reach 4,000, close to 4,000, the Catskills. So I mean, it's you start lower, but I mean, it's still not a ton of elevation.
And is the forest throughout the Water Gap area, at least at the higher elevations, is it similar to Sam's Point, a pitch pine and laurel, rhododendron?
It doesn't get high enough to really change too much. A little bit in certain areas. The Raymondville area, which is like probably my favorite area of all time, whether you go down to the falls or you go up to the cliffs, like there's a little bit of like pine change there, but it's just not quite high enough to have a dramatic effect. Like in the Catskills, you get to like 3,200 feet and you're in another like Christmas wonderland.
Yeah. Now, I've heard a lot of people use Mount Tammany as kind of like a training area to go like up and down, up and down, up and down. That more of New Jersey people use instead of traveling all the way up to the Catskills because it's got a nice elevation profile, right?
It does. That red trail going up is, I don't know what the exact number is, but it's a lot, and it's considering what it is, and it's easy. You go up the red and then down the blue trail, and you can just people continuously run that loop, and I guess it would be a good way to train for sure.
Okay, I've seen pictures, and it looks absolutely phenomenal. Just like you said, the winding river. Of course, it's the Delaware River. It's massive. It's huge. It almost looks like I would say something you would see down more of south area
Yeah,
of Virginia and stuff like that, where these just winding rivers just go through these huge mountains and stuff like that. It's fantastic.
and then floating through it is just another thing too. Being between the two mountains is just
You talking?
amazing. I've done like every I've done the entire stretch like in bits and pieces, all the way from Barryville, New York, all the way down to Portland, Pennsylvania. I did the whole stretch this summer. I've done it before too, but this was the first summer that I've done the whole stretch throughout the summer in bits and pieces. And it's a phenomenal, no matter which stretch you do, it's beautiful. There's never been a trip where I've not seen at least a couple dozen eagles most of the time.
Oh wow.
I saw the largest bear I've ever seen in my life this year above Bushkill. A couple years ago, I saw a bobcat. No
No.
mountain lions,
I was just gonna
you
ask that.
know,
Not yet.
not yet.
Go in the
But
winter, they'll be out.
yeah, maybe.
So do you hike elsewhere in the New Jersey area?
Not. I've done a little bit. I did a little down kind of towards Hackettstown. There's Hackle Barney's down there and a couple other spots, but mostly it's unless it's something I want to really go see. Like I know there's a Tripod Rock that I've been meaning to get to. That's only like 45 minutes away, but I don't know. I try to avoid crowds if I can help it. And like Tammany as much as I love it, it's like it's a nightmare even during the week. Like it fills up so fast because you Google hikes in New Jersey and Tammany is the one that comes up like on the top of every list that's worth its weight.
Now, have you ever been to like the Ramapo area and stuff like that of New Jersey? Are you close to that area?
I've heard of it. I can't say without naming specific locations that I've been there. But it's well within reason. I mean, to travel 2.5 hours to the Catskills, I mean that's to go to Ramapo is not
True.
that far.
It's a fantastic area if you go off trail. So if you're
Yeah.
familiar, you're familiar with off trail. So definitely go off trail in that area, and you'll find some amazing spots, especially overlooking New York City. You can see some good spots. Maybe I'll send you a spot that I know of.
Okay.
So yeah, nice. Get there.
Yes. So speaking of getting there, Tom, how long does it take you to get to the Delaware Water Gap area versus the Catskills, your typical hike in the Catskills, say Slide Mountain, Panther Mountain area?
I'm kind of like right in the middle. So if I go to like the north end of the Water Gap, which is Raymond's Gill, Dingman's Falls, that area, it's like 35 minutes. Or if I go down to the actual Water Gap by Tammany or Minzy or can't think of the name of the creek or Dunfield Creek. That's like 45 minutes right off of Route 80, so it's still not too bad.
Yeah, to get up
Oh,
to
the
the Catskills.
Catskills, I can get to Peekamoose Valley in like an hour and 45, but if I go up to Windham, it's like 2 hours and 45
Yeah, that's a
roughly.
big
So it's
difference.
it's a big swing. So it's anytime I can get up to the Catskills under 2 hours, I'll take it.
Yeah.
And I have been spending a fair amount of time lately around the Peekamoose Valley, so it's been good. But I
So,
mean, I will travel if I want to. Like, I do want to get back to Windham. I want to get back to some of the Catskills further up,
mhm.
so I'll travel. That's not a big deal.
Speaking of time in the car and traveling, you have any ambition to get up to the Whites, the Adirondacks, places further up north?
Um, the Whites haven't really crossed my mind too much. The Adirondacks, I would like to do some of them. I was on Jade Mountain in the Adirondacks for the eclipse, which was an amazing experience. But that was still like 4.5 hours one way,
Yeah.
and it's such a hard thing to like for me to stomach. Like I got used to the driving up to the Catskills in like 2 hours, 2.5 hours. That's fine, but like the Adirondacks, it's like two trips up to the Catskills one way. And I'm afraid, like, if I get up there, because we were talking about Iroquois, Algonquin, and Wright, and like, I feel like if I do that hike, I'm gonna fall in love, and then I'm not gonna be able to get there near as much as I want to or as fast as I want to, and it's just gonna drive me crazy.
Yeah. Well, I
So,
had I had that sentiment about this time last year. I hiked the Whites with my daughter. She was finishing up her 48 up there. And that was what I was thinking about leading up to that, driving up there. And it certainly is a phenomenal place to hike. Stosh will agree with that. But
Hmm.
a special warmth and uniqueness to the forestry and the geology of the Catskills that keeps pulling me back. And
the above tree line is really appealing to me. I saw that on Jay, and I would really like to experience that for a prolonged period of time, walking along some of those ridges. So it's definitely Iroquois, Algonquin, and Wright is going to happen probably probably next year. I'm not going to try to tackle any of the Adirondacks in the winter yet, but definitely I do want to get there though.
It's tough. The driving is tough, going up with the whites and the Adirondacks. I've been there, and it's just like God, sacrificing 4 to 6 hours of driving and then figuring out a place to stay.
Right.
Do you want to drive back when you finish the hike, the through hike or something like that? Do you want to spend 4 to 6 hours and maybe fall asleep at the wheel and die? Like,
And plus my car is old. It's an '07 Corolla. It's only got
oh,
130,000 miles on it, but I feel like if I broke down in the Catskills, I could probably call my dad. He'd be pissed, but he would come and get me.
Yeah, I mean the '07 Corolla. Wow, those Toyotas fucking kill it, man.
It's besides like the cosmetic issues that it has, like it's a great car. It hasn't failed me yet.
I keep going with it. My wife Jessica had a '06 Kia Optima that she just replaced, so it was giving her some crazy cosmetic issues, along with freaking just shit breaking all the time. So we had to replace
Yeah.
it. So now you've hiked in the Catskills. Are you a 35er yet? Do you have anything left?
No, I am a 3500. I'm currently like I wasn't sure what I was going to start to chase after I kind of briefly considered like the next highest 100, whether public property or the ones with private property, but I've since decided recently I'm chasing them again as social hikes with people. I've done
Awesome.
I don't know, 15 or 16 now with social hikes, so I still have a way to go, but it's been fun because my original go around of the 3500s, I'll say like three and a half hikes, um all but three and a half hikes were just solo, me and the dog. So like my bushwhacks for the first time were all solo. And when I say three and a half, like one of the things I learned along the way is like you can't just take people into the Catskills. Because I asked my dad if he wanted to go hiking. He's like, "Yeah, I'll go. I haven't hiked in years." So we went to Balsam Lake, figuring it was a short one, and we got like I don't know on the ramp up, and he's like, I can't go anymore. I can't do anymore." So I'm like, I'll give you the keys. Like usually, if it wasn't so far, like we wouldn't split up. I wouldn't leave anybody behind. But like he understood that like if we got there, I had to go up and get the
Yeah.
tower and get the summit.
Your dad. What about the dog? Who's the dog?
The dog. I mean, the dog just
The
goes. I
famous
mean,
dog.
she,
What's her name?
she just go, Sadie.
Sadie.
She's a Beagle Basset. I've had her for three years now. She came up from Louisiana as a rescue. Out of what is like the saddest thing known to man as a dog dump, where people who can't take care of the dogs, they drop them in a location and that's it. They're just left to fend for themselves, and
Wow.
it's always warm down there, so there's always a threat of heartworm. There's all these other diseases that are around year round because the mosquitoes don't die off down there. That's another thing I got her through was heartworm. We got her home, and like they tested her before and she came back negative, but at some point along the way she got bit by a mosquito, picked up heartworm. We came back. I forget what hike it was. It wasn't in the Catskills yet, but it was one of them where she came back kind of lame. So the vet tested her to see maybe it was Lyme's. And it wasn't Lyme's, but he's like, it came back positive for heartworm. And I don't know if you know anything about heartworm, but if they get it, worms get in the heart. And if it's bad, I mean, it can be fatal. But to treat it, they get two sets of shots, and in between each one, they have to be crate rested for 30 days. So it's a total of 60 days. And some vets even recommend more time because those shots kill the worms, but they stay in the heart. And if the heart rate elevates, the worms break up and then they can go into the blood vessels, they can go into the lung, they can go in the brain, and the animal can stroke out.
Wow, that's serious. I didn't know it was that serious.
It's absolutely terrifying, and the vet was pretty sure we caught it early, and he's seen like it where there's been like hundreds of worms in a dog. He thinks she only had like five or six. So I mean, we got lucky as far as that, but keeping her in a crate and keeping her sedated was honestly terrifying because like for the idea that she could just stroke out at any minute when she hears like a dog bark or she sees something out the window and her heart rate goes up. It was terrifying. But we made it through. That was like the biggest non-hiking adventure with her, was getting her through that.
So when did you started bringing her on hikes?
Um We stayed local when I first got her, and we ramped her up because I knew you can't bring her on big long hikes right away. So we stayed local and we did some of the shorter ones, and then slowly I just started building her up and building her up, and then she could do more and more. Like we come back and like she wouldn't be so stiff because like she'll come back from a hike and like we get stiff and we're sore. I mean, the same thing happens to the dog, so you have to be aware of that, and you kind of have to like respect and learn the limits of what the dog can do. But as you see, like she handles more, you can obviously add more on.
Mhm.
So, Tom, speaking of limits, what ladies' legs, aren't they rather short?
Yeah,
Yeah, they
Beagle
are.
Hound.
Yeah.
They are
So,
very short, and
yeah.
all my time hiking in the Catskills or pretty much anywhere, I've seen beagles before. Beagles are fairly common, but I don't think I've ever seen another basset. And I mean, clearly, many people also haven't seen other bassets because, like, the number one thing I hear people say is, "Oh, look at those tiny legs! Like,
Mhm.
how did she make it up the mountain?" And I mean, she's got a low center of gravity and she's got four-wheel drive, so I give her a lot of credit.
So why don't you let's take something like the Cornell Crack as an example. Has she gone up the Cornell Crack? And if so, how did she get up it? Or let's pick another feature that most of our listeners should be aware of. And you can tell us how Sadie got up and or down that rock
All right,
feature.
I can hit on the Cornell crack only because it's interesting. We've been on Cornell several times, but every time I've been up there, I have not done the crack yet. um,
What? What?
yeah,
What's going on
I
here?
know. It's on the list. It's definitely up there. But the first time I went up, I did not take her. I did myself. I did slide and Cornell. We went up slide, down the wilderness ladder, and down the slide. I thought it was the Cornell crack when I started out, but I realized it's the slide crack. It's not the Cornell crack.
Yep.
So we went that way, and then the second time I went up, I gotta think. We went up Friday because I had to get her because so she didn't get Cornell on that first trip, so I had to get her there. So we went up Friday over the Dink and on to Cornell, which
Impressive.
probably it was a good hike. It was the
Yeah.
thickest pine trees I've ever been in.
Mhm.
And everybody who I tell that story is like the Cornell crack would have been way easier, but
Yeah. Well, but so still on the western side of Cornell, you do have
yeah.
that one. It's they don't call it the Cornell crack, but it can be as difficult to go up and down.
Mhm.
That how did Sadie do on that? Did she need a boost to get up through there? Do you have to carry her up?
There are certain times, a lot of stuff she'll bound up, but there are certain times where like I'll pull her by the handle on her harness and I'll lift her up, and then she'll go, and then usually like if I can get her to a spot where she'll stay there, and then I'll come up after her. We find a way to make it work. Recent spot that terrified me the first time I went through was the chute on Indian Head. I feel like that's a fairly relatable spot that people know, and
The
it's
east
Sure.
side
yeah, the coming up from
from the Devil's Acre.
Flat Cove.
Oh,
Yeah.
Platte Clove.
yeah,
Yeah, sorry. Yep.
yeah, going up that chute, like
It's a hell of
the
a shoot.
first, it is a hell of a chute. And the first time we went up there, like I've learned that I keep the handle of the leash around my wrist at all times because the first time we went up, we got up, I don't know, like three-quarters of that chute, and like I don't know if she jumped or she slipped or something, but like I felt the leash slip through my hand, and I caught her, and that's when I like that chute scared the crap out of me. And I was like, that's it for the shoot for a while. But we just went back a couple weeks ago, and we got it and much more cautious. And I mean, there's video because I linked up with Zach in Action, and he was ahead of me, and so was able to shoot the video of us going up the Indian Head shoot, and
Yeah.
it was wild. But yeah, that was one of the few times that like the first time that I went up there that I was like actually kind of terrified, like that something serious and bad could have happened to the dog.
Yeah. And then you kind of get more self-aware and you're just like, shit.
Yeah, for sure.
What hikes, if any, can't she do? Are there hikes out there that you know, typical hikes in the Catskills that most Catskill hikers do that you wouldn't take?
I mean, I've done certain stretches, whether here in the Delaware Water Gap or up in the Catskills, of like about 14 miles. I've done that like less than a handful of times, but I watch the elevation. If I go an extended distance like 14 miles, like I try to keep the elevation in check. But it's anywhere from like, I don't know, like 3,800 feet of elevation is probably the max that I will push on her, because I mean she comes back and you can tell she's stiff.
That's a lot. 3,800
Yeah,
feet is a freaking hell of a gain. That's like White
yeah.
Mountain shit.
It is a lot, but like I don't know. I'm trying to. I can't think of an example of that, but like I know, like when we did like Windham, usually it's a shorter one, but we ended up turning it into like almost 13 miles with a long road walk, because I did the
Oh, you
pretty
did the
much
whole
that
thing.
whole yeah, the whole thing, and then we walked back on the road. I forget where I started, but
I
yeah,
call
so
that
that
I call
ended.
that the Maple Crest Loop.
Yeah, that would work probably. But yeah, so that was one of the longer
All right.
trips in the Catskills, but it was a road walk, so it wasn't, or at least part of it was a road walk,
Yeah.
so it wasn't terrible.
What about doggy gear? You want to talk about doggy gear? I'm somebody, when I hiked with the dog, I was a young kid. I didn't have anything. I hiked in, land that nobody else was hiking. I'd have to worry about other people using a leash, anything like that. But out here in the Catskills, leashes, harnesses, things to eat and drink. What do you bring along on the hike for Sadie to have a drink with? A bowl?
I have a portable bowl that hooks onto my backpack with a carabiner. Works great. She will only, she will, unless she's really thirsty, she will only drink water when it's pouring out of the bottle. She won't drink it in the bowl, so usually I have to pour it back in the bottle
Mm.
and then pour it back into the bowl. She's spoiled like that, but she's worth it.
So Tom, tell us, do you carry more than one bottle or are you guys sharing the same bottle?
Oh yeah.
No, I definitely carry if you smelled her breath, you would carry her own water.
Yeah. Well, I mean, after all, I mean, you're a Dodgers fan, so I wasn't quite too sure about that. All right, now moving on to the food.
Thank you.
What type of food do you bring along for her?
Usually the standard fare is I carry like 6 ingredient dog biscuits. They're like biscuits wrapped in chicken, dried chicken.
Nice.
She likes those a lot.
Mm.
Apples sometimes, carrots every once in a while. But she, like
Carrots?
without fail, she knows she's getting the crust off of a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Nice.
But it
Nice.
it, dep- it depends on the distance that we're going, how long we're going to be out there. Sometimes it's just treats and the peanut butter and jelly. Sometimes it's the extra stuff.
So speaking about extra stuff, let's talk about the poop bag.
Yes.
Yeah, what do you do?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna let you explain what you do, and then I'm gonna explain what I think everybody should do. I know this is gonna be controversial.
I do pick up, of course, and I do not leave it and then say, "Oh, I'm going to come back and I'll get it on the way out." That's bullshit. I have a contraption that I put on. It velcros to the leash. It's kind of like a hollow T where the top part of the T is wider, and then the stem of the T is narrow. So you tie a knot in the dog bag and it'll slide into that stem of the T on the leash, and it just hangs out there. The only thing you have to watch for is when you're bushwhacking is if the bag tears, you gotta
Mm.
put it in another bag. And I mean that was I had to use like 8 bags on Cheryl and North Dome because we kept tearing the bag. But yeah, for sure. You gotta pick up your dog crap. If you're on a herd path or if you're on a blazed path, if I'm truly bushwhacking and she goes, usually I won't, because it's in the middle of the woods. But any trail that's established, whether official or unofficial, that people can find easily, I definitely will clean up after her.
Did you make up that contraption yourself?
No, I found it on Amazon. It was they sent me like three of them for like $4. So
All
I
right, all
figured
right.
I would try it, and it's so far it's worked good. I don't know if it's going to be the permanent solution, but for now it's working well.
Send me a link and I will post it in the show notes for everybody.
All right, yeah, I can definitely, yep, I can find it for
So,
sure.
I don't hike with dogs. I really would like to, but my dog's a psycho and she reacts to other dogs. So, seeing another dog on trail would be absolutely catastrophic. But the one thing that I think of, I know this is very controversial, but I would think that if your dog shits on the trail, just take a stick, lick it into the woods, and you're done.
Um,
Yeah. It's controversial. It is. You got to admit.
it is a little bit. I mean, if there's times where you forget a dog bag or you don't have something else, I mean, I could see doing that. I try not to forget my dog bags, but
Yeah.
that would work. I mean, and it depends. It depends how much poop there is,
Yeah.
And how much fling there is of the
right?
poop.
And
I
how
mean,
strong the stick is.
yeah, I mean, if you're getting 3 feet off the trail versus 30 feet, right?
Right.
What the type of distance, and then I assume over time there's like a concentration of flinged poop to the left and the
Right.
right of the trail, and then we'll all
Wherever
know
you're
that
strong,
Stosh,
dominant.
yeah, then we'll all know that Stosh got a dog and he's been walking this trail quite a bit with his dog. So yeah,
I'm
well, it's nice to hear that you're really thoughtful about this and making a concerted effort. And I've seen quite a few times where you'll be hiking along a trail and people will tie these poop bags with poop in it to
mhm.
branches along the way. And I don't understand that. I mean, what are they thinking when they do
That's
that?
that's like what I said, like the thought process before. Oh, I'll get it on the way back. I don't want to carry that the whole hike. And I'll get it on the way back, whether
Mhm.
whether they intentionally don't mean to get it or they legitimately forget. It doesn't give them a pass to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you have any like tips to someone who is first hiking with their dog and stuff like that? Do you have any like kind of reach arounds that you want to talk about that you know of to kind of give advice?
The biggest thing if you're going into the Catskills with a dog is the harness. I will hit on my Wittenberg experience just because that's like the most notable one that I remember the most. Wittenberg was my fourth peak. Going up was fine, but I did not have a harness for her at the time. So we got up Wittenberg. She bounded up most of the stuff, no problem. But coming down, like I mean, she doesn't realize when she's going up that she has to go back down. And so like if it takes 2.5 or 3 hours to get to the top of Wittenberg, it took us like probably closer to 6 to get down.
Wow.
And so I almost came out in the dark, didn't have a headlamp, but we didn't come out in the dark. So that's another thing, not specifically related to the dog, but you should always have a headlamp. But yeah, a harness because I've gone back and done Wittenberg several times now with the harness, and it's no problem now. But it's just if you don't have a harness, it's rough. And then
Mhm.
the other spot that was rough that I learned along the way. This was after I got the harness, but I got halfway up and realized I forgot it was we were going up Twin, but not Jimmy Dolan side. It was Pecoy Notch side, and
Nice.
that side is terrifying. I want to get back to that side too with her with the harness. but like going up that was hard without the harness, because even some of that, like she couldn't bound up. And then like once I got to the top of Twin, I was like, nope, we're not going back down that. So we looped around and then went down Jimmy Dolan, and then I walked the road back to whatever the parking lot is where we parked.
Roaring
But
Kill.
Uncle.
yeah,
Yep.
yep.
Yeah. So how hard is this on you, lifting Sadie up, putting her down, I guess lowering her down with the leash on some of these rock features? Is that pretty tough on you?
Not too bad. I mean, she's like 50 pounds. She doesn't look 50 pounds, but she's all muscle. But
Nice.
so lifting her is not too bad. But like she knows, like if we're going down, like and we're going down consistently, like I can kind of like say wait or slow, and like whether she actually understands it or not, I don't know. But I mean, she will slow down, and like so like she doesn't end up pulling me down the mountain, and she knows, like if I tell her to wait, it means like it's a spot where I have to concentrate on getting myself down without her pulling. And
Mhm.
most of the time, if I say wait or slow or whatever, she picks up on that. So we've had pretty good luck communicating like that.
What about winter hiking with her? You get her out in the winter?
I do. I mean, she finished the 3500s with me, and our last climbs were the winners, which my Panther credit, I went up by myself because I knew I was going to get the sunrise from Giant Ledge, and I knew hanging out in like, I don't know, 15-degree weather for 2.5 hours waiting for the sun to come up was not going to be real great for her. So I left her home that day, but then we went back up Fox Hollow to Panther, and that was tough. There was like 18 inches of snow, but it was kind of crusted over. There were still spots where she sank down a little bit, but it wasn't awful. It was a long hike. Fox Hollow is long and it's unrelenting, but we got there. So I mean, she's got big paws. So I mean, there's lots of circulation in there.
Yeah.
But generally, I won't take her if it's like less than 25 degrees out. I will generally not take her because I tried going the boot route and she just will not get used to the boots, so I can't do that. But I mean, the snow doesn't seem to bother her. I do periodically check like in between the paws to make sure there's no like snow buildup or ice buildup. So I'm conscious of that. Like if we stop for a minute, it's not like she's lifting her paws up to try to get them off the snow. So she's pretty tolerant of the snow.
Yeah. What about winter hiking gear, a vest, anything like that?
Yep, I have a couple different sweaters. I have like two different coats that seem to work pretty well. Um, but other than that, not much more. As long as we're moving, she's pretty good. Like sometimes if we stop for an extended period of time, I'll notice she starts to shiver a little bit. But that's like if she doesn't have the coat on, that's when I'll put the coat on, or we'll start moving again, and then she'll be fine again. It's just you just have to be aware of it. And you have to watch
Yeah.
for it.
Seems like you're aware pretty well of what her needs
Yeah,
and stuff like that. To be honest, I'd probably be like you when I'm out there. I'd be more of aware of her needs and be more self-conscious of what she needs more than me. I'd be like,
yeah,
oh
no,
shit, she's
definitely.
shivering. I don't really care about myself. I care about her. Let's get her to safety.
Right, that's exactly right. My biggest fear is on like hiking in the Catskills is not getting lost or a bear or a mountain lion. It's dogs that are off leash that could come at her. I mean, I haven't had any serious encounters, but I've had like some closer encounters with semi-aggressive dogs that have scared me. And I mean, it's like that is my worst fear is if she gets into it with another dog.
Yeah, scuffles. That's horrible. So you have no kind of way, no escape, really. It sucks.
No.
So with you and Sadie, or just yourself? Well, let's go with you yourself.
Yes.
What is your favorite hike in the Catskills been so far?
Uh, Without a doubt, favorite trail is Twin. I love Twin to death. I've been on Twin for the sunrise, the sunset. That will probably be maybe the only mountain that I'll grid for all 12 months. I love Twin a whole lot,
Same.
and then probably for the non-trailed, there's something about Friday that I've always like, that rock face that you walk above or walk next to, and then you get it on top of it, and there's a couple views up there that are phenomenal. You get to see the Ashokan from a couple spots, and I don't know, it's just Friday is just a really neat mountain.
I agree. And it's got some major, it's one of the most biggest gains in the Catskills, 2,900 feet.
Yeah, Moon Haw is rough.
It's great. It's phenomenal. It's pushing any mountain in any direction. It really gives you a kick in time. It's fantastic. So what about you and Sadie? Have you guys, I mean, I know she can't really speak to you, but does she have any favorite hikes?
Um,
I mean, probably a little walk along the area,
yes,
probably.
some of the I know, like, not to go off topic too much because I know we're running kind of long, but like
Hmm.
I work Monday through Friday, a regular job, but like she knows when I get up on Saturday, like for 3 o'clock in the morning or whatever, she knows she's ready to go. Like she knows I'm not going to work. She knows like I'm not taking her out and then putting her back in the house and going to work. She knows we're going. She knows it's her time. So I mean, she definitely wants to be out there. But as far as like her favorite, like I would say probably the flatter spots where I will generally let her sniff as much as she wants.
Oh yeah.
Because her nose just goes constantly. But there's a point in time where I kind of have to like tell her, let's go. We're here to walk. We're here to hike. If I let you smell every twig and branch, like we're gonna be here for fucking 16 hours. So
I having a beagle, I understand. I used to have a lab beagle mix, so she would like tug me in any direction and then sit there and sniff for like 5 to
yeah,
10 seconds each of every 3 feet, and it would just be
yeah.
absolutely insane. So cool, cool. So anything else, Ted? What do you got?
Oh, I don't, I mean, there's a lot of stuff we can cover, but Tom, why don't you tell us, anything that we didn't cover in terms of
Oh, Ted's paused again. Is everybody paused?
I know you in the notes that you sent me one gear mistake. No cheap ponchos. They rip and you get wet. And if it's cold, that's not fun. Some of the gear, don't cheap out on snowshoes because if you need them and they break and you don't have an infield fix, you could be in for a real rough time. Favorite piece of gear that I just recently bought because I've been carrying around a half-gallon water jug for myself, and I finally bought a Camelback, and it's been life changing. I don't have to take my backpack off when I need water, so
Nice.
that's been a real game changer. Which I should have bought and one like 2 years ago when I started, but
It's a tough conversion, I gotta admit.
yeah,
So
I don't.
going from a water jug to a camelback?
yeah.
Yes, because I mean the water jug was heavy, well, not heavy, but it was heavier, and then you put the water in, and obviously it makes it heavier.
Mhm.
But the Camelback is fairly light by itself, so I think it probably, even though it holds more water, it's probably lighter than my water jug.
Yeah. I just the issue I have with using a hydration bladder is you don't know how much you're drinking when you're sucking, fluids in through the tube.
That
And
is true, and I'm learning that. Like I on North Dolmanshaw, like we got like three-quarters the way, and I had to be like, I have to check and see how much water I have, so I know
yeah,
how to kind of ration it.
yeah, you don't know when you're under hydrating or over
Right.
hydrating. So I switched back to using just Nalgene. And
Yeah.
I keep a collapsible water container in the pack, and I'll fill up the Nalgene when I empty it. But this way, I know how much I'm using and how much I have left, and I just find my ability to maintain a decent level of hydration
How about you
is
all just
easier.
carry 5 liters of water like I do?
Or a 6 pack of brewskis or
Oh,
hard
I
ciders.
carry
Yeah,
one. I
yeah,
carry one.
just one. Yeah, I have to
Yeah.
say, man, there's something about a Summit beer that is best.
Mhm.
And
I had
it's
one at Bel Air. I forgot to mention that I had a good awestruck at Bel Air, the top of Bel Air. There's something about it. It kind of gives you
yeah.
that boost to go back down.
I don't know if it's about the boost or not, but it kind of cements the moment of being up there. You know, you had a hard week. You took this
Conquering
time off.
something.
Yeah, and you kind of earned that moment of just being out there and enjoying it. What else,
Correct.
Tom? You know what? What's your next gear purchase coming up? What do you got planned?
I don't know. I not too probably well for the winners last year. So last winter, I invested in wool, which I mean I knew about it, but like I was wearing like polyester and stuff, which was okay too. But the wool is a game changer for sure. So there might be more of
More
that,
wool? You're
more
gonna
wool.
encase yourself in wool
Yeah,
this
turn
season.
myself into a sheep.
Yeah.
Mm, hell yeah.
What is it about wool that you find appealing? You said it's a game
It's
changer. How so?
well, I mean, it wicks sweat. It's not something that gets super stinky. Like you wear polyester and you're like, oh my god, I stink after
Eh,
4 hours. I at least I noticed. I mean, I do. Um, and the wool doesn't get like that.
good point. I mean, yeah.
It's
Eh,
Yeah.
it's kind of light. I mean, like when I first got one of the wool shirts, I was like, "How is this wool?" And it is. It's like the merino wool, and it's just like it's not like your typical like wool sweater that you like real like what that your grandmother you cut out.
oh, I did. I'm cutting out now. It's going back and
You're
forth.
back.
Oh, it's going back and forth. So it's really weird. So post hike brews and bites, what do you have suggested for us?
Yeah, it's a good one. I don't usually stop because I don't like leaving the dog in the car for a long period of time. But I did when I took my dad to Balsam Lake. We went to the diner afterwards, and that was a really good experience. I've heard Rios is amazing, but I haven't been.
Shame.
Um, I know it's on the it's on the list.
Yeah, and good suggestion. Phoenicia Diner is pretty good. I gotta admit. Man, everybody's pausing. What's going on? Are we having
Yeah.
storms all over the place?
I think it's the Russians. I think
It's
they've
the Russians.
It's the
infiltrated. Yeah.
witch.
Yeah, they've
It's the
infiltrated the
witch.
system.
It's the
There you
witch.
go. Yeah, Tom's tying it all together.
Yeah. So, Tom, thank you for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it. I had a great time chatting about your experience at the Catskills, also with Sadie's experience clipping the Catskills. Hopefully, I wish she could talk. It would be fantastic to hear her times in there. She
Yeah.
probably had good times with you guys, good talks.
It would.
And Tom, let's hook up. Let's get together, do some hiking.
Yeah, yeah.
Let me know. I know the last time we talked, like I know I was met the first time I went up Van Wyck. That's another story that I could say for another time. But like that's one of the that's still like my most sketchy hike in the Catskills because the dog and I went up the steepest part of Van Wyck.
Mhm.
So it was crazy. But I know that was the hike where you said you had to talk to the boss, meaning your wife, and then it did
Yeah.
for whatever reason it didn't come together. But yeah, we definitely gotta get together because I mean
Yeah.
both of you, I would love to hike with both of you guys.
Well, let's
Yeah.
do it.
Let's do it.
And the dog. Bring the dog.
And that's 100% the dog.
Oh, I wouldn't. Yeah, I'd love to have it. So thank you to the monthly supporters, monthly sponsors. Really good. Appreciate you guys giving to the show. It's absolutely phenomenal. Thank you to everybody who's still donated to the show. I really appreciate it. And thank you to everyone who is still listening. Really appreciate it. Still believing in us in 145 episodes. Tom, thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for listening. And thank you for still believing in the show. If you still listen to it, do you still listen?
I do every I mean, the one episode that I was on the river and I was listening like a couple weeks ago, I listened to the episode on the river. It's almost like a ritual at this point where like Saturday one way or another, whether it's the drive up or I'm hiking down here, I have one earbud in and I'm listening if I'm hiking down here or on the car ride up to the Catskills.
It's good to hear.
All right, Tom, just one last question.
Go ahead.
Do you know what the score is right now? Bottom
I
of the
do
fourth?
see the score. Bottom
What
of
is
four,
it? What
five,
is it? Just yell it out. Yell out the score, Tom. Come on. Put it out there.
Recording ended.
5-2 Yankees.
Yes, yes.
Just
5-2 Yanks.
Let's wait till the bottom of the ninth where a grand slam
Oh,
stop
walk-off
it.
happens.
All right, we're
Stash.
ending the show now, Stash.
All right, so
Thomas, thank you, my man. Good
Thank
talking
you.
to
Yes,
you.
thank you.
once
guys.
again, have a good night. Yeah, we'll catch you out in the trail.
Absolutely.
Hey everyone, I just want to thank you for listening to the show. If you enjoyed the show, subscribe and throw down a smooth review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any podcast platform that you use. You can also check daily updates of the podcast, hikes, hiking news, and local news on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and the official website of the show. Remember this, you gotta just keep on living in the Catskills, man. Livin.
Wicked, 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 wicked.